Giovanni.
One, I just want to make sure people know we're in the middle of Gun Violence Awareness Month. They can
you guys should have mentioned it at the top of the show. Thank you.
GDLU.org. Tamika Malley is the co-chair. A lot of people here.
You're talking about guns. Shootings are up. There was a shooting early this morning in the Bronx. Teenager is dead. 2 other teens were wounded. It was a baby shower. Many high school students there. We're asking the question, why are the shootings going up? The murders are about something else. Because if you're really trying to kill people, maybe they're not. Maybe this is about something else. Anyway, asking you the question, 1-800-223-9797. That's 1-800-223-9797. Twitter @LisaEvers, #GunsDown. Listen this weekend to win J and Bay tickets to On the Run, to the On the Run tour. The first show sold out, second been added, July 12th at MetLife Stadium. I'm Lisa Evers, your host. We'll be back right after this.
People tell us about it real quick and then give us a way to get in touch.
Okay, so the number to the hospital is 212-939-4034. You can call that number. That'll ring my office directly, and we'd love to have your kids involved. And anytime there's a shooting, if there's a kid that's injured that comes into the facility, we invite them to participate in our programs. And broadly, we try to let the community know that our programs exist so kids don't actually ever end up in the hospital. We're interested in prevention more so than cure when it happens. And there's a fantastic video that we have called Triggering Wounds that we use to kind of share broadly with the community so kids can understand what happens when they're shot, when somebody dies in that community. I think a lot of kids are invested in a lot of television. They don't necessarily see the pain that's associated with what happens when you're actually shot or hurt. And then the video kind of demonstrates that message from a lot of different perspectives.
Right, and also too with Harlem Hospital in Kings County treating a lot of the gunshot victims. Give us the telephone number again, please.
It's 212-939-4034.
Okay, that's
212-939-4034.
All right, Eric from Guns Down, Life Up with Harlem Hospital and Kings County Hospital. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much. We've just been joined by City Council Member Jumaane Williams. And Jumaane, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. What is your take on, this rise in shootings?
Well, I know I heard one of the Vulcanians talking about the stop, question, and frisk policy, which was being abused. It's just, we've become accustomed to treating black and brown young men however we want, and that's what the reason that people are trying to say that was the excuse for the rise of shootings. If you look back in the past 12 years, and you look at Bloomberg's own numbers, there was upticks and there was downticks of shootings, irrespective of how many stops were ever made. What we always said is we wanted to make sure that the tool was available for police.
What we don't have in our communities is about the fact that so much is missing. You know, there's a different level of oppression. Oppression is economic oppression. So you want to talk about what's causing this? Causing the fact that a lot of people out there are hungry. There's a lot of housing issues. A lot of these youth are displaced. A lot of these youth parents are dead or incarcerated. So this is what happens. They gravitate towards a lifestyle that the only thing that they see, and that's really what it's boiling down to.
All right, Antoine, what do you think about that?
Yeah, he's pretty much on point with that. I think stop and frisk is definitely a means of oppression, because how about the people that he stopped who have nothing, who has no drugs, no guy who's doing anything that's unfit enough, that the old person is being searched and this and that for nothing.
But do you think it made people who are carrying think twice?
Not really, because I think people really carry guns also for the police. Like, it's not like you don't feel protected or safe by them. There's several cases that they did something, they inflicted violence upon someone of innocence and got away scot-free, or maybe I laid off for a couple of hours. So I didn't.
Talk about, all right, and your point about the youth program, your point about the funding, about the youth programs. We just saw in Harlem on 126. They just opened the community center. They've been closed there for 5 years, where the police officer died in the smoke and the fire in Coney Island. The basketball court there has been shut down. The playground damaged since the storm. Since the storm was never fixed.
Our own worst enemy.
Said that human beings put in the same situation won't do the same thing. That's all I try to get to the bottom of.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
as far as this gun thing, I bet you it's much easier for the youth to grab a gun than to get, let's see, into a college. It's much simpler. Like, they make it more easier. It's designed.
But that's your
you
choice.
get a free library card.
That's your choice.
You can get a free library card.
Listen, I grew up in the South Bronx as well. I grew up on food stamps, welfare, the whole 9 yards. I made a choice on whether or not I was going to carry a gun or not. Now, these days, I do carry a gun, but I don't have to run when the police come either.
You a police.
No, that's right. So I made a choice. So everybody in this room, look, brother, I am not saying there's no way that I'm going to get my point across to you.
Okay, hold on a second. One at a time, because I want to hear everybody.
All I'm saying is that a child, we should not have to continue to bury our children in these communities because of gang violence and guns. And there is no way that we should be sitting here glorifying carrying guns.
It is a choice that we don't have to make, but we can't discount the fact that there are a whole bunch of factors that go into that. And because some people don't make it, doesn't mean there's not a reason why people didn't. If you're in war, you can't tell somebody, look, I came out of that war unscathed. Why did you get shot? Why did you get hit? There's a reason. There were factors around that war that caused that man to be hit. One wasn't, one was. So we have to make sure we hit this thing with everything. So if we just say it's just a choice, then that's a problem. But we can't pretend that it's not. If we leave out the fact, well, why is he making these choices? Why is he feeling that he has to pick this up? And if we don't ask those questions and validate the answers, we won't solve the problem.
Right, and also we need to take a short break. I'll come back to you. I'll start with you, John, after the short break. And also, too, we need to recognize with the police department that there are now, more so than ever, it's more representative of the community. They still have a ways to go, but it's much more diverse.
When you go up to
with the police officers that are out there on the street,
and I'm not saying
at the top, though, not at the top.
No, it's not at the top. I agree with that.
Okay, let me take a. Okay, I need you to take a break.
One moment. Just like Bratton made all of these promotions, he made 15 or 12 promotions. He made one Hispanic and no people of color, no African Americans. There's something wrong. But everybody screamed about Ray Kelly, but he made more people of color than this guy is.
All right, let's
Only on 97. Go soldier yourself.
Go back to Hot 97. Go back to Hot. I'm your host, Lisa Evers. Follow me on Twitter at Lisa Evers. Hashtag Guns Down. 1-800-223-9797. We're talking about the violence. NYPD telling us that shootings were up 43% last month compared to the last year. We're asking what is going on. We have Norman Seabrook, president of the Correction Officers Benevolent Association, with us in studio. New York City Council member and chairman of the Gun Violence Committee in the City Council, Jumani Williams. We also have Shanduk McFadder. He's a former offender who is now the founder of a community organization, Gangsters Making Astronomical Community Changes. We have Antoine with us. He's a businessman and current gang member. That's what he's telling us. We also got John, we'll leave it at that. John J. Fullman is with us. He's a production company, has a production company, entrepreneur. Earl Blue is a college student. And also I want to get to our associate producer, Angelique Tyree, and find out what's happening on the phone lines and also on Twitter. Angelique?
Yes, so on Twitter we asked the question, what do you think are the main causes of recent gun violence? And do you think that gun violence is heightening because of stop and frisk reducing? And we had several tweets. One tweet comes from @LadyBody, who says, not at all. Gun violence are due to envy or retaliation situations. Guns are passed around like candy for any ages. Another tweet comes from @Motivate2G, who says more youth programs are still needed. And one last tweet comes from @It'sJoselito, who says it's definitely a connection. Stop and frisk was a deterrent to carrying guns. Now people know there's less of a threat to carry a gun. And we have a couple phone calls. One phone call was from...
Well, when we talk about mental health status in our communities, people are not listening.
And another phone call was from Michael from the Bronx, who says people aren't asking the right questions. People who've had gun have been mentally ill. We need to look into mental illness.
All right, thank you very much. If you want to have your comment read, 1-800-223-9797. Twitter @Lisa Evers, @Street_Soldiers. Hashtag Guns Down. Let's go to Angela from Connecticut right now. Angela, hi, you're on Hot 97. Go right ahead.
Hi, hi Lisa.
Hi, thank you for calling in.
Well, my main concern is the first three gentlemen that were on the air just speaking. I agree with a lot of what they were saying, and the problem what we're facing right now is, there's too many young children that's having a gun in their hand. And willing to target anyone in the streets. Well, the main problem that we're facing right now is that the kids, a lot of them, their families are not there. Mom, dad, uncles, whoever's taking care of them. I was just speaking to Victor Pate, which is the National Action Network, which I'm a part of, and Second Chance Committee. And we were just talking about this 2 days ago, going into these schools and hitting the hard neighborhoods, and which we're planning anytime now. And that's where it starts at.
No, definitely, Angela, thank you.
All the arguing and bickering is not going to work. We need to interact with these kids and stop being in the office and doing these paperwork and just to get.
No, there's people that are out on the streets. Angela, thank you very much for the call. And please let us know when you do that. We'll let our listeners know about that. Shanduk, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's the biggest problem is people keep talking about getting into the schools and getting into the streets, and we're already in the schools and we're already in the streets. The biggest problem is the finances. We can't get no support. Everything else gets support, but the work that we do. And when they say that, it's about the guns.
There's a difference between legal.
Have you ever did a funeral for ATO, baby?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have, brother.
All right, now my point is this.
Matter of fact, I paid for the funeral for the 5-year-old baby shot in the South Bronx by a 9mm in the playground in Tinton Avenue.
Where y'all support that for us, man?
Here's where my support is. What we do is we do push for peace. We do everything that we're supposed to do out here on these streets of New York.
Legal and illegal guns.
Understandable. We are not bringing the guns into our community.
There we go. That's another one.
That is not. I don't think that's true.
Crazy.
This is coming because you are the opposition, man. You are the correction. You are the business, man. If I'm trying to get to a point, I can get to my brain.
The guns in this country.
Okay. The guns are made in this country, guys. I have a news flash for you. They're made here in the United States.
Guns have to come into our communities because it fuels a business, which is the prison system. Right. All right? So what I'm saying is, as long as there's business in the prison system, as long as there's businesses selling guns, it's going to get our communities. Now, what I'm saying also is, while those guns in our community, I put my gun down. I changed the way I carry my weapon because of a state of mind, because of a condition. You understand my point? So when I say it's about the mentality, it doesn't matter if there's a million guns in the community. If those people who are in control of those young boys who's running around shooting know how to talk them down, then you're going to have a different level of gun violence in our communities. And we're the ones who know that. Everybody is scholars, so they've never been in these...
Okay, I need Jumani. Wait, Norman. I need Jumani. But you got to hold on a second. I need Jumani because, Jumani, you chair the gun violence committee. I'm a news reporter, in addition to Hot 97. Most of the stories of the gun arrests that have been made are people with either from our communities or with ties to our communities who are simply driving them in from other states, or where they're stolen from other states, or where they have fake buyers getting them and they're bringing them in.
This thing about illegal, all these illegal guns were once legal, right? So there's a problem with how many guns and what America does with guns.
But from what you know in terms of the guns getting driven into the community.
It's huge from down south. A tremendous amount of what were once legal guns, now illegal, coming up from south. And there's a lot coming from this state. So we're trying to pretend that it's just up down south, but a lot are coming from the other from not just New York City, but outside the state. But I do want to say mentality is a huge thing we have to look at. You can have 1,000 guns in the street, and if the mentality is correct, you won't pick it up. It's the same thing I say with the pants sagging down. It annoys me, whatever, but every community has a subculture that does things. If you change that young person's mind, they'll pull their pants up by themselves. If you tell them pull your pants up, what do kids do when adults are telling them?
Well, sagging is kind of a national trend. I mean, there's different levels of it.
Yes, there is.
Of how much is exposed.
If you correct people's mentality, then their behavior changes.
I mean, here's the thing. I agree with what the officer is saying, maybe partially, but here's the thing where it comes down to. It all goes down, especially with black people in our community, it all boils down to the foundation and the structure of their family and building their quote-unquote their personal empire. So if it starts at the family level, we have to start teaching our kids at a level. What our congressman was saying,
City Council member Jumanji Williams.
I apologize. What he was saying is true.
Congress may be in the future.
We have to start at the kids. If we trace everything back to history, we can see how this system is really used to mentally enslave us.
Well, let's trace everything. Let's trace everything back. Let's trace everything back to today.
It goes back to the foundation and the breakdown of the black family structure. We are. I can't curse, but we are screwed up when it comes down to our mental and physical.
This is what everybody's talking about is the mindset. But Shanduk, when you are talking to some 14-year-old that you know has a gun, and that's in danger of shooting up a playground or shooting at people, because so many of these shootings now, little kids are getting hit by the stray bullets. What do you say to him to get him to change his mentality?
First of all, that's whack, man. Like, it's unacceptable. You know what I mean? Like, it goes to the big homies in the hood. I don't care what you represent, Blood, Crip, Wave Gang. It don't matter. It goes to these leaders in these communities, man. Like, I was talked down years ago, which changed my concept, where I was lurking to somebody smoke something. And talk me down from shooting. You understand what I'm saying? So now you look at the police department that's patrolling our neighborhoods. They're not preventing nothing. If you on this corner, I'll go up to the other corner and clap something. This was happening in our hoods. So now they're out there and they're getting in money to be on the corners, but they're not preventive. They're after the fact. They're for incarceration. Now, if you get the brothers who know what to do, and you add employment to that system, where we got a lot of, like, we got our Erica Force, I Love My Life, Man Up Inc., you got SOS. These are people who deal with this on the forefront. GMAC, which is my organization, we deal with this on the forefront. So this is what you got to do. You got to be more preventive of the issues, and then instead of saying, okay, we're gonna wait till the murders happen, and then we're gonna incarcerate.
Okay, but the design of the police department isn't 911. Is to respond to it. I think now they're trying to do more preventive things, and I think also under this administration they're trying to do more preventive.
Step off though. The police, they don't really protect and serve how they're supposed to.
But it still comes down to the individual putting their finger on that trigger, rattling that trigger.
Police our own communities. We don't have.
It's how we look at public safety. For too long, particularly in the black and brown community, that's the reason that in black and brown communities particularly, the public safety was only police. They're not responsible for public safety. They're responsible for law enforcement.
Right.
So you have to have other agencies plus the community responsible for public safety. If you put it just on the hands of police, the only way to do that is to over-police.
So you agree with what Norman is saying, that it's up to the people too,
but it's up to other agencies as well. When they were cutting youth programs in DYCD during the Bloomberg era, I would consistently ask the commissioner, have you spoken to the NYPD to find out what the effects will be if the youth programs close? They would always say no. And another thing is, when people think I'm joking when I say this, but I say, well, why can't we stop and peek into white males with suits in Wall Street in their briefcase and see what's going on? Because the financial system in this world almost collapsed completely because of what they were doing. And they say, oh, you can't do it. No, you're saying you can't do that because of the population.
You're talking about banksters.
All right. But we're saying we can't do it because of the population.
No, they're doing it. The U.S. attorney, they're indicting, trust me, they're indicting a lot of people almost every week.
And seeing what kind of paperwork.
No, they're going into their bank accounts and they are making a lot of arrests with that.
But if they started doing what I'm saying on Wall Street, it would be unacceptable.
Oh, no, totally. They would never allow that.
I'm just saying, why is it acceptable when they do it?
Norman Seabrook, what do you think about this?
I think that a couple of things. One of the things that's very important is that there is money out there that they're not given to the communities, black and brown communities. The same way that Joe Hines could have taken $1 million out of the forfeiture money and use it to pay for campaign funds, allegedly, they could take that same $1 million and give some of these young people a job for the summer, as opposed to just leaving them standing on the corner and leaving them
That's a good idea.
So they need to refocus their energies. And it's not just Jumanji Williams. There's 50 other council members that need to get involved in allocating money in the communities so these kids don't have to go out here, stick each other up, and take iPads and iPhones from each other. That's number one. Number two, we don't need the police to stand on the corner in our communities. We need to be back in the old days, like Shanduk said. It was an unwritten rule that you didn't mess with grandma or grandpa or a young kid. We need to go back to the community and say, look, on these blocks from now on, fellas, it's off limits. violence, man. It just don't happen no more. We have to do something better than continuously allowing ourselves to be victimized by each other and say that the reason for it is lifestyle or the police department. It's time to put the guns down and
Mona
do what it is
Faison,
that we're
founder of
supposed to
Teach
do.
for Peace, the festival, Alternatives to Violence for At-Risk Youth. Mona, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Good morning, good morning,
Good morning, Mona.
People in the studio, good morning.
Good morning. We just
Morning,
have a
sister.
couple of minutes. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to tell everybody about what you all are doing.
Well, a few people that are in the studio know about Teach for Peace, and I agree with actually a little bit of what everyone is doing, but it is a concerted effort. And the initial acronym for PEACE stands for professionals, educated advocates, community groups, and entrepreneurs. So I stand firmly, we stand firmly with the fact that it is a joint effort with communities, the powers that be, the home life. All of that is what's going to sway violence, any type of violence. You know, we all have our opinions on how it gets here, but through education and empowerment, you know, as Sam Duke speaks about wholeheartedly, you change the mindset. You change the way of thinking about the gift of life. You change the way of thinking about themselves, that there's more to life than that instant moment when they go to pick up that gun. Because as we already seen in Brownsville, East New York, that person picked up a knife. So this again, this is a effort, and it's a trifecta. It's your home life, it's your environment, and it's your community. And when you look at those things and when you address those things as a whole, as a unit, that's only when we're going to see change in our community. So it does start with the backtracking of we're taking back our streets, we are educating and raising our children, and more importantly, we are empowering our children to make better decisions. We all grew up in a society, I don't care how old the panel is, you know, there was always something that's going to sway you in another direction.
Okay, Mona, I got to move on because we're just about out of time, believe it or not. Do you have an event coming up?
Yes, June 26th at Ron King Park, we're doing Peace Performance, which is one other facet of how we teach our youth how to funnel and channel energy and how to find themselves and empower themselves. Peace Performance, June 26th, 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., all genres of performance, spoken word, art, music, everything there, creative outlets, and we're going to also speak about awareness and empowerment.
All right, great. Mona, I got to run. I'm really, the clock is pressing down on me here.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Okay, thank you so much for being on.
Duke involved. Also, what I'm excited about is this budget actually reflects hopefully a change in thinking of how we're working on this gun violence. So if this budget remains the way it is passed, we'll see a tripling of the gun violence funding that we put into the communities, hopefully going to 15 neighborhoods. I'm hoping that the mayor...
These will be programs for the youth?
Yes, it's a lot more complicated, and I'd love to talk about it one day. And then I've been talking with the mayor's side about really getting all of the agencies together that are important to deal with gun violence, so everybody is talking to one another, and that's important. We've also put an extra, I think it's 10,700 YP spots, so young people have places they can work during this summer. So we're really trying to change how we discuss this. We don't have time, but I think I would have liked to bring up the snitching culture, which I think
that's a whole other show.
But
and maybe we should do a whole show with just programs. We had Erica Ford called in and would love to get her on.
That'd be great. But I noticed, brother. But that's what I try to come with. That's why I think I try to work with everybody. I know people at this table, man, cool. Everybody's coming at the same thing, and we got to stop talking past each other because there's bits and pieces of what we're saying that make a lot of sense. And it's an effort that has to come at from different points. If you try to fix it with one program and say it's one thing.
No, you're right, and it can't just be like the police department. It's really a people issue.
It's our problem.
It's our problem.
It's our problem.
It's our problem. All right, we're out of time, unfortunately. I want to thank all of you for being with us for this episode of Street Soldiers. To everybody on the phone, Mark, Raider, Stefan, everyone else, I'm sorry we didn't get to your telephone calls. I do want to give a special shout out to Principal Lisa Ann Herman, all the students at Junior High School 218 in East New York, across from the Cypress houses. Yesterday, they took a stand themselves. All the kids did under yesterday in Brooklyn. The kids did. I think that's so awesome. And hopefully, I'll be able to be there for with you on the next one that you do. I want to thank all of our guests for being with us for this episode of Street Soldiers. Norman Seabrook, President of the Correctional Officers Benevolent Association. City Council Member and Chair of the Gun Violence Committee, Jumani Williams. Shanduk McFadder, founder of GMAC, Gangsters Making Astronomical Community Changes. Antoine, thank you for being with us.
All right, thank you, man.
John T. Fullman and Earl Blue, thank you very much. Everybody that was on the phone lines, thank you. And also got to thank our whole team here at Hot 97, our Program Director, Jay Dixon, Assistant Program Director, Carly Hustle, my Executive Producer, Tone Capone, our Associate Producers, Angelique Tyree, Amber Ravenel on the phones, our all-round guy here, digital board, everything, the one and only TJ. And our digital director, Jeffrey Thacker, coming very soon, the new LisaEvers.com website that will have a special mobile version. You can hear your Street Soldiers episodes on your phone. That's how easy it's going to be. We'll have all the videos. So if I interviewed you, you'll be able to see it right on there that day. Okay, it's going to be real easy to follow up on everything.
Go, Lisa.
Thank you.
Go, Lisa.
All right. And watch me on the Fox 5 News at 5, 6, and 10. I got some big stuff coming up this week. And also shout out to Joe Budden. Next Sunday, we're going to be talking about the history of battle rap. Okay? You know what's coming. The Road to Total Slaughter is happening on July 12th. Holiday. Joe Budden, we're going to be talking with them about this whole match in the history of battle rap. So make sure you tune in. Tune in Fox 5 News tonight, 6 and 10, 5, 6, and 10 during the week. Remember, use your mind. It's your best weapon. I hope it's your only weapon. I'm Lisa Evers. Push for peace.